Millionaire lady freezes when she sees his childhood lover mopping the floor of her company. She stepped out of her elevator and dropped her phone. Not because she was startled, but because the man mopping her marble floors was the only person who ever made her believe in forever. The office hummed with silence, the kind that wasn't empty, but curated. Glass walls, steel fixtures, light designed to make skin look brighter and flaws harder to find. Elara Voss, founder and CEO of Voss Link Technologies, sat at the head of a long obsidian conference table, hands clasped in front of her like a monarch on trial. She wasn't speaking. She didn't have to. The room watched her, waited, trembled beneath their glossy notebooks. "Cut the project," she said finally. Her voice was cool but not cruel. "It's derivative. If I can see it in a week-old Bloomberg column, so can the market." A few heads bowed. A few pens scribbled. Her assistant, Mara, trailed behind her as she left the room. "You've got press at 3, dinner with the Taiwanese delegation at 7, and a call with the Singapore satellite at." "Cancel dinner," Elara said. "Reschedule it for the 11th. I need tonight." Mara hesitated. "Yes, Ms. Voss." Elara walked like a woman trying not to remember how to run. Each step was sharp, controlled, but her jaw had been tense since 8:03 a.m., right after she'd pulled out an old drawer in her executive suite, searching for a charger. Instead, she found him, or rather, a photograph of them. She wasn't even sure how it ended up in her office. It had survived 20 years, 3 cities, 2 degrees, and an entire empire. Somehow, the photo had followed her. In it, Elara was 17, her hair messy, her laughter half-caught mid-breath. Beside her, a boy held her hand. Tan skin, wild curls, a guitar slung on his back, and a peace sign over his heart. Jonah Rae, her first everything. The buffer groaned under Jonah's hands as he rolled it across the polished floor of the 42nd level. The building was always cold, corporate cold. Not the kind that made you shiver, but the kind that kept people from looking each other in the eyes. He didn't mind. He'd worked worse jobs. This one at least offered silence. And silence was safer than kindness. He looked up at the nameplate on the door. Elara Voss. The last time he saw that name was on a college acceptance letter she had left on his porch. No note. No goodbye. Just ambition in envelope form. He didn't hate her. That was too much effort. But he never forgot her. He wiped a fingerprint off the handle. Then hesitated. He didn't know she'd own the place. Elara stepped into her private elevator late that afternoon. She wore a white blouse, her signature dark slacks, and an expression so practiced it belonged in a museum. The elevator dinged at the 42nd floor. She stepped out and stopped. The hallway stretched silent. And there he was, back turned, mop in hand, headphones in. He was humming. Humming. Of all things, that song, the lullaby he used to play for her on the porch swing after dark. He used to strum it into her ribs, her heartbeat syncing with the strings. She dropped her phone. The clatter echoed across marble and glass. Jonah turned. Time didn't slow. It stopped. He blinked. She stared. His hands tightened around the mop handle. His jaw twitched. And then he gave a tight nod. Barely a breath. Not a word. He turned and continued mopping. Like she was a stranger. Elara didn't speak. Couldn't. Her hand went to her chest like something physical had lodged there. Her assistant called from behind her. She didn't respond. She stood there, frozen, watching the boy she once knew clean her floors like he'd never memorized every inch of her soul. She turned back into the elevator, pressed the button, and stared at her reflection in the mirrored wall. Her lipstick was perfect. Her hands were trembling. That night, Elara sat alone in her penthouse, lights dimmed, city lights pouring in through floor-to-ceiling windows like static. She turned on the old cassette Jonah had made for her before she left for the city. It still worked. Somehow it still played. A voice came through the speaker, soft, unpolished Jonah's. For Elara. So you don't forget what love sounds like. She didn't cry. But she didn't sleep either. Have you ever seen someone from your past and felt time stop? Share your story in the comments. Ms. Voss, are you all right? Elara didn't respond. Her eyes were fixed on the elevator doors, long after they had closed. Her assistant tried again. The marketing team is waiting. Should I? No, Elara said suddenly, her voice sharper than she intended. Cancel the meeting. I need 15 minutes. In her office, the door clicked shut. The glass walls couldn't keep out the trembling in her hands. She sat down and stared at the space in front of her desk, freshly mopped. A dark spot still glistened faintly, like a memory refusing to dry. Jonah Rae, the boy who once carved their initials into her father's old oak tree. The boy who once told her he'd build her a world with his own hands. The boy who never said goodbye. The boy she never wrote back to. Elara swiveled her chair and stared out the window, her reflection barely visible against the backdrop of the skyline. Her fingers moved to her bracelet, an old silver one, with a broken clasp Jonah had once fixed using wire from his guitar strings. She hadn't worn it in years. But today, she hadn't taken it off. Jonah finished mopping the 45th floor and walked toward the janitorial closet. His manager, Ron, met him in the hallway. Got a weird request from corporate, Ron grunted. They want you reassigned to another building. Jonah blinked. Why? Ron shrugged. No idea. Something about optics. Jonah looked past him, toward the glass-paneled office 2 floors below. Don't move me, he said flatly. Ron raised an eyebrow. Sure you want to stay? Jonah hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, suit yourself. The next morning, they crossed paths again, this time in the underground parking garage. Elara's heels clicked against the concrete. Jonah was loading equipment into a supply cart. She stopped. Her voice wavered as she said his name. Jonah. He didn't look up, just kept organizing bottles and gloves into their compartments. I didn't know you were here. Still no reply. She tried again. When I saw you yesterday, it was like I couldn't breathe. He paused, finally looked up. His eyes were darker now, wiser, and tired. I breathe just fine, he said. Most days. Elara opened her mouth to speak again, but he had already pushed the cart past her. The moment left behind the taste of unsaid things. Over the next few days, Elara found herself watching for him. Not obviously, but every time she stepped out of her elevator, her eyes flicked instinctively down the corridor. She hated herself for it. She was the woman with billion-dollar deals and national awards. Why did her chest tighten over a mop bucket? She asked Mara to check employee files. When she saw Jonah's photo and name, Jonah Emery Rae, her breath caught. He had no degree listed, no prior corporate work, just 5 years of custodial service. No notes, no red flags, a perfect blank, except to her. On Thursday, Elara entered the executive break lounge for tea. Jonah was already there, changing a light bulb. They both froze. He stood on the counter, one hand stretched toward the ceiling fixture. The moment stretched. Elara, he said, her name soft, like he was testing it out again. You remember, she whispered. I remember everything. She looked away, blinking too quickly. He finished replacing the bulb and hopped down, wiping his hands. You were supposed to come back, he said quietly. That's summer. I wanted to, she said. Then why didn't you? She didn't answer. Jonah gave a bitter smile, still good at dodging the truth. She stepped toward him. You don't understand. No. I do, he said. You left, and you didn't come back. End of story. He walked past her, but just before the door he paused, and without turning he said, You're still wearing the bracelet. Then he left her standing there. That night, Jonah sat alone in his small apartment. The walls were thin, the floor creaked, but it was his. He pulled his guitar from its case. It hadn't seen daylight in a while. His fingers hovered, then played. Slow, shaky, but the chords remembered her better than his voice could. He played the lullaby, and through the cracked window, wind carried it down the alley, down the street, all the way to Elara's waiting silence. Do you believe people can fall in love again, even after years apart? Drop your thoughts below. The next morning, Elara canceled her strategy meeting. She walked to the janitorial supply area herself. Jonah was there, stocking paper towels. He looked at her. This time, he didn't pretend not to see her. I want to talk, she said. He raised an eyebrow. Now? Yes. He folded his arms. Why now? Because I haven't stopped thinking about you since Monday. He looked at her for a long, long time. You really think 4 days can undo 14 years? She didn't reply. Because she didn't know. It's easy to pretend you're over someone until they look at you like they remember everything you forgot how to say. Back in her office, Elara snapped at her assistant for the first time in months. Why is this report late? Mara blinked. It's not. It's actually early. Elara rubbed her temples, then apologized in a clipped whisper. Give me an hour alone. She paced. She tried to bury herself in numbers, projections, slide decks. But she saw him in everything. The mop bucket that rolled past the glass wall. The guitar-shaped bottle opener, still hidden in her bottom drawer. The phantom scent of wood smoke. Jonah always smelled like it after those campfire nights. She opened her inbox and clicked compose. To Jonah Rae. Subject, talk? Then deleted it. Then typed it again. Then closed the laptop. She didn't send it. Instead, she whispered to no one. You don't get to haunt me like this. But she wasn't sure who she meant, him or herself. Jonah called in sick the next day. He wasn't. He sat in his apartment with a half-built model boat on the table and the TV off. His neighbor's kid knocked twice, asking if he'd come teach him that old trick with string and buttons again. He didn't answer. He stared at his phone. No calls. No messages. He didn't expect one. But that didn't stop him from hoping. Hope is cruel, he thought. He strummed a chord, then stopped. And whispered, you don't get to walk back and like nothing happened. But he didn't mean her. He meant himself. Friday. Elara stood at the center of the Voss Link Grand Hall. Balloons. Lights. A massive birthday gala organized by her board to celebrate the Queen of Tech. She hated birthdays. Jonah used to make hers sacred. He'd light 25 candles for her 17th birthday. 8 for the past, 8 for the future, and 9 for today. She smiled once the cake was wheeled in. It didn't touch her eyes. Mara noticed. You okay? Elara sipped her champagne. Do I look okay? No. You look expensive. That's not the same. Elara laughed once, then left her own party. Jonah wasn't supposed to be on the roof. But he needed quiet. From above, the city lights spread like spilled starlight. He used to sneak up to rooftops as a teen. Just him, his guitar, and thoughts that didn't fit inside his house. Elara used to come too. He could still hear her whispering dreams into his neck. You and me against the world, Ray. Just us. Always. He closed his eyes. And suddenly it was 17 again. Her hair in his hoodie. Her breath in sync with his. Then she left. No letter. No reason. Just absence. That Sunday, Elara drove herself. No driver. No assistant. Back to the neighborhood she'd sworn never to return to. Everything was smaller now. Faded. The corner store still had the same chipped sign. Mrs. Grady's fence still leaned left. And there, still standing, was the oak tree. The one Jonah carved. J plus E equals always. Someone had scratched lines through it. Time, maybe. Rain. Disappointment. Elara stood there with her palm against the bark. She didn't cry. But her voice trembled when she said aloud, I was so scared. When Jonah returned to work Monday, he found a sealed envelope in his mop cart. His name in her handwriting. Inside was a letter. Short. Terse. But honest. Underscore 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 underscore. Jonah, you're right. I didn't come back. I broke something, but I didn't forget. I've never forgotten a single note, laugh, or stupid nickname. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I was scared. Of how much I loved you. Of how much I would have given up to stay. Elara. Jonah folded it carefully. His hands were trembling, but his face showed nothing. He tucked it into his back pocket and didn't reply. If you were Jonah or Elara, would you reach out? Or protect yourself? What do you think is harder, forgiving someone or asking for forgiveness? Let me know below. That Friday, they ended up in the same elevator again. She stepped in. He was already there. Silence. The doors closed. Elara inhaled. You read it. Yes. Pause. Did it help? Long pause. Jonah looked down. I don't know. Then the elevator dinged. He stepped out. But this time, he looked back once. That single glance shattered her more than any door slamming could. Some distances can only be closed by standing still long enough to be seen. It started with a storm. A freak thunderstorm swept through the city one Thursday night. Violent winds, crashing rain, and a lightning strike that knocked out the entire block's power grid, including the Voss Link corporate tower. Elara had stayed late, as usual, alone in her top-floor office, reviewing acquisition contracts by candlelight. Jonah, on the night janitorial shift, had just finished mopping the 42nd floor. The generators kicked in but only restored emergency lighting. Elevators froze. Doors locked in fail-safe mode. Elara pressed the intercom. "Is anyone else on the top floors?" The scratchy reply came from security. One janitor logged on the 42nd. "We're dispatching maintenance, but it may be hours." Hours. Alone. With Jonah. Elara took the stairs, heels off, flashlight in hand. She found Jonah by the break room, surrounded by soft light from backup strips. He had a thermos in one hand, a granola bar in the other, and a small first aid box at his feet. He looked up. Didn't expect to see the CEO slumming it. "I didn't expect to be locked in with a ghost," she said. He half smiled. "Not a ghost. Just a mop guy." She folded her arms. "I'm not in the mood for self-pity." "Good," he said. "I'm not in the mood to comfort rich people." That one stung. But she sat down anyway, cross-legged, 4 feet away, in the dim orange glow. He handed her a thermos lid filled with lentil soup. She hesitated, then took it. They sipped in silence, backs to the wall. It was the first thing they'd shared in 14 years that didn't hurt. After a few minutes, she whispered, "You still hum when you eat." He looked at her sideways. "You still chew your lip when you're nervous." "I'm not nervous." "Then your lip disagrees." She laughed. A real one this time. He smiled faintly. As the storm roared outside, they talked. About safe things first, music, old cartoons, dumb things from high school. Then deeper. Jonah spoke first. "You know what the hardest part was? Not that you left. Not even that you didn't write." She looked at him, barely breathing. "The hardest part was wondering if I made it all up." "You didn't," she said instantly. He nodded slowly. "I know that now." Elara hesitated, then added, "I wanted to stay. But my father had just died. I was sent away to boarding school the day after the funeral. I didn't even get to pack. My mother didn't let me say goodbye to anyone. I begged to come back that summer, but, she said if I did she'd stop paying for my education, that I'd ruin my life for some janitor's son." Jonah didn't speak. Tears welled in her eyes. "I didn't choose to leave you. I chose to survive." Jonah looked away. But she saw it, the shimmer in his eyes. He believed her. At 2:43 a.m., the lights flickered on. The building groaned back to life. They blinked in the sudden brightness. The moment shattered. Jonah stood. "Well, Cinderella. Midnight's over." Elara stood too, quietly. She reached out, brushing a thread off his shirt. He froze. She whispered, "You're not just a janitor." He met her gaze. "You're not just a CEO." And for a breathless second, the space between them nearly disappeared. Nearly. But he stepped back. "Good night, Elara," and walked away. The emotional barrier is cracking, but fear still lingers. Jonah almost lets her in. Elara almost reaches him. And fate gave them one night, but not yet the courage. Some goodbyes are never spoken aloud. They just echo for years, waiting to be answered. Some letters never reach their destination, but the words live on in silence. A week after the blackout, Jonah is tasked with cleaning out the dusty archives in the company's basement. An old storage room crammed with forgotten files, boxes, and memorabilia from the company's early days. While sorting, something falls out of a battered file folder. A sealed envelope. Jonah picks it up. It's addressed to him. But the handwriting, it's Elara's. His heart pounds. The envelope is old, yellowed slightly around the edges. Inside is a letter. The letter reads, "Jonah, I'm writing this now because tomorrow I leave. I want you to know I'm scared. Not of leaving you, but of leaving myself behind if I stay here, in this town, this cage. I love you more than I have words for, but I need to find a life I can be proud of, one I don't have to hide. If I don't come back, please know it's not because I stopped loving you. Always yours, Elara." Jonah's hands tremble. He reads it again. He wonders why he never received this. Elara is working late one evening. Jonah appears quietly in the doorway, holding the letter. You wrote this. She looks up, eyes wide. I never sent it. Why? She hesitates. Because I was too proud. She takes a deep breath. My mother found it first. She told me to destroy it, or she'd tell my father's business partners everything about my reckless childhood. Jonah studies her. Why didn't you tell me? I was afraid. Afraid that if I told you, you'd think I was weak. And I couldn't lose you, even if it meant losing myself. Jonah steps closer, voice soft. You lost both. Her eyes glisten. Flash back to a teenage Elara at a boarding school dormitory, holding a ripped-up version of the letter, tears streaming. She throws the pieces in the trash. Her mother's voice echoes. You don't belong here, Elara. Not with people like him. A young Elara's heartbreak is palpable. Jonah opens up too. He reveals how he left the city to join a band after Elara disappeared. He chased a dream that was partly about forgetting her. But the emptiness only grew. He's been cleaning offices and mopping floors because the band never took off. I wanted to come back, but I was ashamed, he admits. Elara reaches for his hand. We were both prisoners, she says. Of pride, of fear. They stand, hands still connected. Elara whispers, we lost years, Jonah. He nods. But maybe we have time now. Jonah smiles. Maybe this is where we start. The veil is lifted. Both are raw, exposed, yet still aching with hope. Elara and Jonah meet at a small, cozy cafe near the company's old neighborhood, far from glass towers and polished floors. The scent of roasted coffee beans, warm cinnamon, and soft jazz envelopes them. They laugh over spilled sugar packets, awkward silences melting away. Elara notices Jonah's hands, rough but gentle, and Jonah watches how she twirls a strand of hair nervously. They reminisce about childhood moments, racing bikes down the hill, summer days by the river, their secret hideout in the woods. Jonah recalls how Elara once gave him a hand-knitted scarf when winter came early. Elara smiles softly. I was proud you kept it. They both laugh, the sound lighter than before. Later, walking in the park, they stop at a bench beneath an ancient oak. Jonah shares his biggest fear. That I'm not enough for the life you want. Elara admits her own. That I've built a life on a lie, and you'll see it one day. Their confessions hang in the air, raw and trembling. Jonah reaches out, fingers brushing hers, a small but electric touch. Elara pulls a small box from her purse, a delicate locket she's worn since childhood. She opens it, revealing a faded photo of them as kids, arms slung around each other. Maybe we can start over, she says. Jonah nods. Maybe love was waiting for us all along. They sit together under the oak, letting the silence speak for once. Have you ever found hope in unexpected places or moments? When has vulnerability changed your life? Share your stories below. Elara is at her office late, preparing for an important board meeting. Suddenly, the door swings open. It's her mother, Caroline Voss, the iron-willed matriarch. Caroline's eyes are cold, her presence like a storm. She pulls Elara aside, voice low and sharp. Stop this foolishness. Jonah is a liability. You can't afford to let your emotions ruin the empire I built. Elara's jaw tightens, but she doesn't answer. Meanwhile, Jonah finds an old company newsletter from years ago in the archives. The headline, Voss Link Scandal, a daughter's choice threatens the family legacy. Underneath, a story reveals Caroline's ruthless moves to control the family's assets, including the decision to send Elara away and erase any ties to Jonah's family. Jonah's hands shake with anger and betrayal. Elara and Jonah meet that evening in her penthouse, the tension thick. Jonah confronts her. You never told me about your mother's part in all this. You let me believe it was just fate. Elara's voice cracks. I wanted to protect you. I was trying to survive, not hurt you. Jonah's eyes flash with pain. Protect me? By pushing me away. By letting me suffer. Words escalate into accusations. Elara shouts, You don't understand what it's like to be trapped in a gilded cage. Jonah replies bitterly, And you don't know what it's like to be forgotten. Their bond fractures. Elara storms out, slamming the door behind her. Jonah collapses onto the couch, alone and devastated. In the aftermath, both are broken. Elara sits by the window, tears streaming, questioning if love can ever survive the past. Jonah walks the empty streets, memories swirling, wondering if he was ever really part of her world. The night after the shattering confrontation, Elara sits in the dimly lit corner of her penthouse. City lights blur through the floor-to-ceiling windows, but her world feels dark and hollow. She clutches the locket Jonah gave her, the photo inside a symbol of a past she's not sure she deserves. Her thoughts swirl in a relentless storm: pride, fear, regret. Did she ruin the only real thing she ever had? Meanwhile, Jonah is on a bench in a quiet park, the cold biting at his skin. His fingers grip the worn letter Elara never sent. He rereads it, searching for answers, forgiveness, some sign that it's not too late. But inside, a war rages. To reach out or to retreat, to hope or to resign. For hours, both replay their last conversation, the harsh words exchanged, the cracks that suddenly seemed impossible to mend. Elara traces the outline of the locket and whispers, "Maybe love is just a luxury for those who have no scars." Jonah folds the letter, voice cracking as he murmurs, "What if scars are the proof that love was real?" The contrast in their pain is stark. She hides behind control, he behind memories. Yet beneath their defenses, a fragile hope flickers. Elara receives a call from her mother, Caroline. "You're making a mistake. This relationship will destroy everything," Caroline warns coldly. Elara's jaw tightens. "Maybe what destroys me is hiding who I really am." Caroline scoffs. "You can't change where you come from. You have a duty." Elara's voice hardens. "I have a choice." Hanging up, she feels the weight of generations bearing down, but also the first stirrings of rebellion. Jonah meets with his longtime friend and confidant, Marco, at a late-night diner. "I'm terrified," Jonah admits, stirring his coffee absently. "Afraid that even if I reach out, she'll reject me again. That maybe I'm not enough for her world." Marco leans forward, eyes steady. "What's scarier, reaching out and risking rejection, or never trying and living with regret?" Jonah exhales deeply, the truth settling in. "I don't want to live with regret." Meanwhile, Elara lies awake, staring at the ceiling. Her mind drifts back to childhood moments, the laughter with Jonah, the dreams they shared. But also the loneliness, the walls built around her heart. She realizes something profound. Love isn't weakness. It's the bravest act she can choose. Tears fall silently. Early morning, Jonah walks toward Elara's company building, the sun casting long shadows. He hesitates at the entrance, heart pounding. With steady steps, he climbs the marble staircase to her office floor. Elara is there, already hard at work, the weight of expectation clear in her posture. Their eyes meet. A silent question passes between them. Jonah breaks the silence. "I'm not perfect. I'm scared, broken in ways I didn't know." Elara's gaze softens. He continues, "But I want to try. Not because I expect perfection, but because I believe in us." She swallows, voice barely a whisper. "I'm scared too." They stand close, the distance between them shrinking. Elara reaches out, fingers trembling as they touch Jonah's hand. "We can't erase the past," she says, "but maybe we can write the future together." Jonah nods, no more running. They share a fragile smile, a moment of quiet victory amid the storm. Later that day, they sit side by side in her office, planning a new path. Not just for their relationship, but for the company, one built on truth and trust. Elara looks at Jonah. "It's scary, but it feels right." Jonah replies, "Love at last, against all odds." The sun streams through the window, casting warm light on their intertwined hands. They both know the journey ahead won't be easy. But this choice, to choose love over fear, vulnerability over pride, is the most powerful step they've ever taken. Have you ever faced a crossroads where choosing love meant risking everything? What gave you the courage to take that leap? Share your stories and thoughts below. The morning sun spills golden warmth across Vosslink's boardroom, where Elara stands confidently before her team. She announces a bold new direction for the company, one rooted in transparency, fairness, and inclusion. Jonah watches from the back, proud and steady beside her. The air between them hums with quiet joy, no words needed. Later, Elara invites Jonah to a small private space within the company, a cozy room they had once overlooked. They sit close, their conversation gentle but real. Elara shares her deepest fears, of failure, of not being enough beyond wealth and power. Jonah listens, holding her hand. He admits his own scars, years of loneliness, self-doubt, and yearning. They don't promise perfection, only presence. Elara meets with her mother, Caroline, determined. "I'm no longer your puppet," she says. "My choices are my own. And love, real love, is not a weakness but a strength." Caroline's eyes flash, but this time, Elara stands firm. Together, Elara and Jonah unveil a charitable initiative in their old neighborhood, investing in community programs and supporting local youth. It's a symbol of healing, not just for them, but for a broken past. Elara and Jonah stroll hand in hand, revisiting the park bench under the ancient oak. Elara looks up at Jonah. "After all this, do you believe in second chances?" Jonah smiles. "I believe in love at last hours." Under the oak tree, Jonah pulls out the locket Elara gave him. He opens it, revealing a new photo of them, smiling, beginning anew. "I promise to keep choosing us every day," he says softly. Elara squeezes his hand, tears of joy shining in her eyes. The story closes with a scene of Elara and Jonah hosting a community event at Voss, surrounded by friends, family, and colleagues. Laughter, music, and hope fill the air. They dance together, imperfect but whole. Love at last, against all odds. Have you ever found unexpected love that changed your life? Share your thoughts and stories below. Your voice matters. And subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed the story. Sometimes love doesn't come when we expect it. But when it finally arrives, it demands a choice, to hide behind the past or to leap into something real. If this story touched your heart, drop some love in the comments and tell us, would you give a second chance to a love from your past? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more emotional, real-life love stories that stay with you long after the credits roll. Your next favorite story drops soon, and trust us, you won't want to miss it. Subscribe, and join a community that believes in love at last.